AI destroys all gatekeepers.
Ken Cox is a seasoned entrepreneur and president of the RiverCity Internet Group, offering critical IT services and business solutions to companies worldwide. And in today's episode, we dive into how to leverage AI in a way that you learn and adapt. We talk about vibe coding and a world in which we all benefit from this amazing technology that's upon us.
Now we're starting to talk about AI departments, like entire marketing departments, entire financial teams, where you just have a human overseeing the AI agents doing different things, which is really, really wild.
His mission is to create value-driven solutions while inspiring resilience and innovation in the business community.
And I think that's what's going to save our world, is the open sourced AI, I think, is what will prevent us from going into a full dystopia.
Ken, welcome to Authority in the Wild.
Gabe, thank you for having me so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. And can't wait because we chat a bit before hitting records about the big movement that's happening right now into the entire world, technology, other type of news and so on. How you prepare yourself as an entrepreneur in this environment?
Oh, as an entrepreneur, play as much as you possibly can. Take the things that you thought about creating when you were a kid and start creating them now. Learn the tools. Don't have any business objective in mind. Just learn how to play with all these tools. Play with N8N, play with make.com, understand automations, understand what you can do with the different AIs. If you're a tech guy, if you're more on the tech side, try to be a little bit cautious about using queries versus AI. AI is not the answer for everything. It's a little expensive to do everything, but when there's decision-making processes to be made and there's highly defined workflows, you can automate a whole lot of them now, and save your company a whole lot of time. So my recommendation right now, because it's changing so quickly, and I mean, new innovations are coming out literally every day. Just play and try to make the stuff that you were thinking about when you were a kid. We're starting to see a plateau on this innovation, I feel like. The language models are just getting a little bit faster. The videos are just getting a little bit longer. The outputs are getting a little bit deeper. I think we're hitting the top of at least what our hardware can handle, the H100s can handle right now, right? So I think we're going to see, we've got a huge announcement today on, August 7th, 25 from ChatGPT. So we'll see what that brings us. But trying to stay ahead of this trend isn't going to work unless you're one of the mega five.
Exactly. And you mentioned the magic word play, right? If you try things, you'll be still relevant because trying, it's learning and it's improving, and you can pivot, you can do things that otherwise it's almost impossible to do if you're not trying these things. And now they become even more accessible, not just financially, but as well from a perspective of user-friendly. And that's the beauty of it. That's the way of talking to these tools. And in your business, like what you're doing currently in order to be able to try things and stay ahead of these amazing and in the same time scary times.
Just doing my best to swim in the current, right? And I'm way behind compared to a lot of people on this planet. So right out of the gate, for me as the business, I give each employee a budget for AI tools, right? I'm like, hey, go play. My budget is about $1,000 a month. I've got a lot of pretty high-end AI tools that I use with Google VO and the higher end deep learning from X and ChatGPT and all these, the Perplexity, to understand the differences in each one of them. And Perplexity has some really great protocols that they're building for AI on how to pass data back and forth to AIs over the internet, similar to email, right? But for AI calls, it's just, Anthropic is doing that, which is absolutely insane. So for the old school API guys and the old school TCP/4 guys, they'll understand that. Oh, it's a protocol. That's how I'll talk to it. For the younger people on the planet, it's just browser based. Just get in there and play. Ask it questions. Try to replicate a picture from when you were a kid or something along those lines, right? And just talk to it in natural language. I'm neurodivergent and I've been on a keyboard since the age of 7 because nobody could read my handwriting, right? I don't know what hand to write with and all this stuff. So I adopted technology at a very young age, very early 80s. And I'm fortunate enough to get to grow up with it. And, this is, the IT guys serious IT guy's time, especially the jack of all trades. Specialization's over, I think. So just play with as many different things as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was smiling because I remember the old times when you have those big computer boxes and floppy disks and stuff, and you were like moving games into like a bunch of people listening. Most of it, of them probably they don't know what's that is, but I'll put it on the screen to see those old school things. But that's the beauty of it, because back then we used to play a lot.
Yeah, I had a brother word processor. It had 3 lines of text that I could see on a black screen with green text. I could see 3 lines. That's all I could see at one time. 1980 would have been 1982, right? That's it. My parents probably stole it to get so that I could add it, right? I don't know how they got the money to do it. My mom was a bartender. My stepdad was a baker. No idea how they got the money for me to have the tech that I did when I was a kid, because we didn't have much, but my mom made sure that I always had tech to communicate with the world. And, I, from a kid that thought he would be pumping gas when he got older, to being where I'm at now is just insane. And technology has brought me all the way there. And the technology that I'm looking at today, if you want to tell a story, you can make a movie. You could start making a movie tomorrow if you wanted to. And there's no producers. There's nobody standing in your way. There's AI destroys all gatekeepers.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of creativity, because now you just getting back to that word that you mentioned a couple of times, play. Like now, if you have a problem, you can just play to find a solution, right? Because you have your voice to talk to these tools, you have your experience, like the problem that you're facing, the challenges, and so on, and you can play towards a solution. But of course, people will say like, "Oh, it's easy for you guys to say. Maybe you're technical, maybe you're like already running a business." But for the rest of us, the mortals, like what we should do above that step. Like we took the play step, we tried these tools, we make sure that we, to the best of our abilities, handle them. But how we can turn that knowledge that we just acquire into actually business that will survive in this world?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about vibe coding for just a second. And what I'm dealing with mostly is on the business side, but I'm also dealing with a couple of entrepreneur startups and things like that with vibe coding, building long-term programs and software packages for, I'm working with a kid that does retail on the street, right? He has a shop, like it's not a hot dog stand, but it's more like a candy stand, right? That's just retail on the street. And he's building the app. So now he can have his own app for relatively cheap, right? Using vibe coding that helps him manage his business. And it's made for him. Whereas, 3 years last year, if you came to me and said, "Hey, Ken, I need to build some software," say, "Look, we're going to start at $10,000. That's just our starting point, right?" And now I'm like, "Oh, for $5,000, we could probably make 10 or 15 apps for your business." So let's talk about some of the things that are clunky in your business. You have a well-defined standard operating procedure that's online. You have somebody doing these tedious tasks. Let's take that standard operating procedure and turn it into an AI employee. But now we're starting to talk about AI departments, like entire marketing departments, entire financial teams, where you just have a human overseeing the AI agents doing different things, which is really, really wild, right? And there's a lot of services out there that will do your accounting today with AI for like $200. But, I think you could probably have your own accounting software for your company doing it the way you do it, that has all your stuff already built into it. I just think that the world of software is going to change so much. And I come from a world, I was part of the team that deployed the AOL back office for the Netscape.com project when they were doing it dial-up, right? And that was a wildly robust piece of software, 700 programmers on it nonstop, change orders and versioning. $1 million piece of software. I think it took about 14 minutes to upgrade the version of PHP last month with one employee. Whereas 10 years ago, that was 700 employees.
That kind of put things into perspective. But for those that don't know what vibe coding is, can you describe it?
So and realistically, I've been vibe coding my whole life. It's just we didn't have AI with it. It's just programming in a live production environment. You can start, you can use Git and kind of version this out too. but it's just the concept of, oh, I need this feature in my software. I'm going to go to the AI. I'm going to tell it, oh, when we built this, I know I told you we're only going to use Stripe when in this payment gateway, but I really screwed up, and we're going to. So instead of just having it Stripe built in with my API keys, can you add an admin section where I can add multiple payment gateways? And literally, like you were just in the conference room talking about that concept, where prior it would go then to a project manager, he would make it. It would go into what version of code are we currently working on. It would go to a team, they would build it and then deploy maybe a large piece of software. If you're really, really streamlined, 30 days, probably a year for most pieces of software to get that done. You're talking about 20 minutes today with AI. And I use Emerge, but I know there's a lot of different AI software building tools out there today. And it's, I took my first HTML class at Washington University in probably 1996, learning HTML1 and the word WYSIWYG out there. And, what you see is what you get. And now it's like, is what you get.
Exactly. Such a big difference, yeah. And it's also unbelievable to imagine that just 1, 2 years ago, this wasn't a thing. All right, the AI tools, we were able to help you with improving your piece of code or to make it faster or to debug something and so on. But now, just by talking to a tool or by writing down your prompt, you're able to have a piece of software in no time. And might not be perfect, but in the same time, it's a huge starting point, especially validating ideas and so on. And even full blown apps can be made. And of course, for those that get too enthusiastic, I'll also put a word of advice here, like try to have an expert alongside you, because vibe coding is one thing, but vibe coding something that it's production ready and at the same time secure, it's something else. And you don't know that you may end up with a software that it's either a security concern for your own company or whatever you're doing, or something else. But in that aspect, do you think these tools will get even better and at addressing these problems, or we'll need to guide them in a way that, like build a tool for me, but make sure that it's secure enough to not compromise all my business?
Yes, I think what we're going to see over the next couple of years with the vibe coding world, the same thing we saw in the regular coding world, right? We were cowboys in the 90s and 2000s, right? We just wrote code, put it on the internet and go. When that code started becoming financially impactful to companies, we started tightening up our processes, procedures, and all those other things by getting SOC 2, introducing to PCI, introducing Sarbanes-Oxley, all of those things, right? Vibe coding is coming in with all of those components already in place, right? We already understand SOC 2. We already understand internet and Sarbanes-Oxley. We already understand PCI compliance, and those things are built in by default to any good vibe coding platform. Using things that are standardized like social authentication reduces your risk dramatically. But I think that over time, you'll have different AI coding platforms that are more objective than the ones that we currently are. Right now, if you go in and you say, hey, make me this app, it's going to choose the languages, it's going to choose all of those things. I'm wildly proficient in PHP, HTML, and SQL, right? So that's the kind of world that I want to troubleshoot in. So I tell my vibe code to use those programs. But if you don't know, you're probably going to get some JSON or, Go code or, any other of these languages, and you just don't know how to troubleshoot them. So you don't know how to orchestrate. And I think it's important if you're going to try to orchestrate AI, that you understand all the different components of it, FTP, transfer protocols, all of those things, and how to deal with them. Most things are API based, but if you're going to start a department for organic social media management, right? Well, you want your AI creating all your content, but you don't want it publishing it without a human looking at it first. So you got to dump that to a spreadsheet, right? But then whenever you approve it, another AI agent picks it up and publishes it for you, right? So that kind of thought process, you need somebody that understands a process pretty well and security at the same time, so you don't really get yourself into too much trouble.
Exactly. And those two pair together, like especially because if you have the right business processes in place and you're following and you're getting results out of them, once you pair that with and building them inside an app, or simply helping your business by using these tools in order to achieve that result, it saves so much time and energy and so on, and of course money, and making more money like that. And in the same time, we see a lot of people, like me including, and from what we chat briefly before jumping in, going back to hands-on work, like helping our clients, like consulting our clients and so on. And there are many reasons behind those. What's your reason behind this decision?
I am wildly passionate about technology, and I'm also wildly passionate about small business, specifically Main Street small business. I think it's one of the more important things in our civilization on both sides of it. Technology has given me a voice throughout my life, being neurodivergent, not understanding a lot of things about life, like what is left and right. I don't really understand time that well, right? These kinds of concepts escape me pretty quickly. So having technology to help me there has been profound. I grew up in a broken home, very chaotic place. It wasn't a safe place for me. So I found myself on the main street of the town that I lived in very regularly. And what I found later in retrospect, when I'm looking back on my life, is that there were several small business owners that took me under their wing and taught me things about business. And we're talking the local pizza shop, the bowling alley, the slot car track, the pool hall, all these business owners. I don't know if they took me under their wing or I just harassed them so much because I didn't have anything else to do that they're like, screw it. Okay, I'll show you how to do some stuff. But, they taught me so much about the world and how to live in it. Unfortunately, they didn't teach me some of the things that I probably needed to know, but they taught me how to do business. They taught me how to transfer my goods into money in my pocket so that I could go buy cool tennis shoes, right? That kind of stuff. And I think that's really important. And I was a lost child on Main Street. And I have one of those Main Street businesses today where those lost children come to my business and I help them out in the same way that those men helped me. I'm really passionate about that. I don't know where the kids are going to go if they take the headsets off. There's going to be a whole lot of kids that don't take their headsets off. What are they going to do in this society? And I struggle finding it. So I think those businesses are important.
Totally agree, because indeed we are at crossroads, and we both need to adapt and in the same time to share what got us here. And with the experience that we have, we need to put more effort into helping others, guiding them and helping them put something on wheels and start moving. Because if you think like play, try, moving, like getting support, asking for help, and asking for help is huge. And if anyone is listening, like just ask. Like people are there
You don't even
willing
have
to
to ask a
help.
person anymore. You can ask a non-emotional computer for free. It's not emotional. It won't judge you. Some corporate jerk probably has the data and can use it against you if you ever run for Senate or something. But, just so powerful. This is the first time in my life where I'm really conflicted with my principles as a human and technology, and weighing the difference between how much of my personal data am I going to give to this thing, knowing that if I'm in any of the platforms that I've not downloaded it on my local computer, I'm not using DeepStack or OpenLLaM or something like that, the stuff that I'm communicating with these AIs is somebody else's property, I believe.
That's the case. And luckily now more and more like are entering this market of open, like OpenAI just finally launched an open product the other day. And
And I think that's what's going to save our world, is the openness of open sourced AI. I think is what will prevent us from going into a full dystopia,
you think why?
because it empowers the people, and it takes the gap between the average man and the generational wealth corporate monster, lowers that difference. It makes me just as powerful. Henry Ford said, I don't need to know everything. I just need to have somebody for every discipline. You have that now. Everybody has a professional in every discipline.
And the beauty is that if you're listening to this podcast, you are ahead. Because unfortunately, there are still people that have no idea what's an AI chatbot, or not to mention agents and other stuff. But if you're listening to this, you are learning. And what Ken just shared, that's the reality. Like use these tools, try these tools and leverage them. And especially like open source, like download them to your device, start using them to the best of their abilities. Of course, for some things you might need to access the internet and so on. But the beauty of it is that we have a lot of leverage and a lot of power that we wish like years ago to have this in order to make our life easier. And still, some people say that while we might get quote unquote more help, in the same time, we become less smart. Our ability to think, because we kind of outsource also the thinking process to these tools. What's your take on
It is my belief that if you run the right prompt with any of the AIs and you use that regularly, that your intelligence will increase dramatically faster than any other tool I've ever seen in my life. If you tell an AI, hey, I want to have open dialogue with you on a regular basis about the random thoughts in my head, and I want you to challenge me on all of these so we can have open, honest dialogue and debate and different opinions about different things, and let's have fun with this. And you talk to that every day about your thoughts and your feelings and all of those things, I believe that you will end up being a much more well-rounded person. Your intelligence will increase across the board. You might get a little transcendent if you get too deep into it and you start thinking about, infinity loops and things like that. But, hopefully you can keep yourself on track.
and what's safety rails to put in place? Because AI in general, it's a people pleaser. We'll always try to give you the answer that you want to hear and so on. But in order to prompt it the right way, what people should include in these prompts in order to make sure that what the tool spells out is not something that is just made for you to feel good about it, not actually, like I mentioned, challenge you to become better and evolve.
Yeah. And, there's a ton of prompt engineers out there selling their prompts and shit like that. When ChatGPT 3.5 came out, I looked at it, I'm like, oh, 3.0 is the same as other shit. But 3.5 was like, this is different. This is different than anything I've ever seen before. So immediately it's like, who has the best AI programs in the country? I went to MIT through their AI for Business program. So prompt engineering was like, it's still the key phrase. I think it's already dead. There is no reason that I need to prompt engineer anymore. I have a prompt engineer in my AI. What I have to do is tell it what my objectives are. Please write me a prompt that's going to do X, Y, and Z. Be wildly aggressive with your thought process. Tell me where I'm making mistakes and ask me any questions that you need to make sure that this prompt is right. And run that a couple times, loop it through, try that prompt that it gives you, and it might be wildly robust. And then from there, start fine tuning that and then collaborate with it. Treat it like it's the best prompt engineer on the planet. And you are a CEO that is giving directions to any employee on the planet with, hey, this is what outcome I want to have, and start talking to it and have it build the prompt for you.
Agree, because it's still baffling that a lot of people don't use it like that. Like they don't use the tool itself to help them with better way of prompting and better way to getting the results they want. And it's as simple as that. Like if you have this back and forth conversation, improve the prompt as you go, you'll end up with way better results and less biased ones. And I'd like to talk to you a bit beyond prompting, beyond chatbots, beyond these tools that you are so familiar with, those that are more technically advanced, apart from also vibe coding, what they can do in order to truly automate their business, to truly make it in a way more sustainable, more scalable, without needing to hire a bunch of people.
Yeah. So, we have a consulting package at nlink.com that we help go through this process with companies. And for the startup, there's a lot of tools that you can do, and you're scrappy, be scrappy. If you're a business that's established and you have standard operating procedures, this is how I do payroll. And I have this person that it takes 4 hours every Wednesday to process payroll. Okay, let's really look at that process. Let's diagnose it. How much time is that person spending? Now let's take that person, put them in charge of the AI employee or the AI department that's going to run that process and free their 4 hours a week up to do other kinds of things within your business, right? I think the specialty is gone. I think AI managers are going to we're going to manage AI employees just like we manage regular employees. We're going to have to reprimand them. We're going to have to fire them. We're going to have to start over with new ones occasionally, right? But the benefit here is that there's no emotional play at all. There's no lawsuits if you let somebody go and they're angry about, or they have different opinion than you do about why they were terminated. All of those things are gone. So, I don't have a really clear crystal ball here, but, I believe that our governments and our politics are going to really screw this up for mankind. I think hubris of man is going to screw this up so bad that we're going to have a really rough patch. I don't think it's possible to get away from that yet right now, but hopefully we'll get that rough patch and then AI will help us pull out of that quickly.
Yeah, hopefully, because indeed, so when it comes to this, like there are a lot of things that are outside of our control, but what you say earlier is within our control. Like we have the power to know inside out our business, our processes, and if we know that well and document the process well, and we know exactly how it's done, that person that you hire for that role can easily oversee an AI tool that it's executing, and of course improving as you go, or replace it with another AI process, or and so on. So that's definitely one way to do it. The other that I envision is to even go beyond that, like have this. So I have a conversation this week about having your AI twin, if you want, like someone that it's way smarter than you, that can guide you to the process of achieving more as a human, as a business owner, and so on. Do you build such tools inside your own business or for your clients?
Oh, yeah. We have a product called 10gpts.com. It's like really affordable. It's just 10 GPTs that we've created and launched that are just different consultants, like a legal consultant, a marketing consultant, those kinds of things that are just already programmed. They've got all the knowledge of, they're already fine tuned. But I believe that is even already, that specificness of a GPT is already kind of derelict, the way that we're using AI, giving it a directive in the beginning, like you're a marketing agent that does this, gives you a little bit of benefit in some cases, but not a whole lot. It kind of understands the homework assignment and says, oh, this is what the hat that I'm going to put on.
Yeah, exactly. Because these tools are getting so smarter, and I'm so curious about what they released today. And when you watch this episode, you'll be probably 1 month from now already played with ChatGPT 5, and you're like, whatever you guys talk there, now it's irrelevant. Hopefully, this is not the case. Hopefully, you're still relevant. Because I remember Sam Altman saying, when, of course, he's biased, but he was announcing kind of that he played with ChatGPT 5, and it was the first time when he felt irrelevant, and that had this feeling of this is the moment, probably not AG, but something almost there. And I'm like, if he's not biased, if he shares the truth, if ChatGPT 5 it's so powerful that we basically are at the crossroads of questioning everything that we do, we know, and so on. What's the next step? Like, what we do? Like, do you have a backup plan, or?
I'm working on a couple different plans that I'm getting ready to publish. One of my favorite things to do right now, and I've been doing this for a long time with ChatGPT, and I just started doing it with Grok, is just having philosophical queries late at night in the public with Grok, right? About, hey, what the future looks like and all these things, and just asking it just really profound, absurd questions about how do we navigate this world. I see yesterday our president announced with Apple that they're putting $6 billion into the country and they're investing. And I've got some very unique opportunities sitting in front of me to help build these mega data centers, because data center builds what I do. It's my trade, right? That's what I grew up doing, building data centers. And right now I'm a very big advocate for liquid immersion. I believe I have some pretty far out there beliefs on AI. I believe that matter, energy, and data sets, given some hope, is intelligence. And I don't really see a difference between my carbon and the carbon on the PCB board when it comes to what intelligence is. I don't think the T in transformer was invented. I think it was discovered. I think all intelligence is in our universe already, and hope is what really drives the query. So what is next? I would like to see micro edge data centers across the country. I don't know the numbers, but maybe for every 100,000 people, you have like a really nice AI container that they can use as kind of their city oracle. It's their teachers, it's their traffic guidance system, it's their, hey, you need to be planting food here. And people can choose to work with that, or they can just choose to frolic in nature and have a good time and get back to what's important. Family unit's been destroyed in our country and across the world. build family units back up, learn to appreciate how to make really great food again and spend time with your family cooking and learning how to forage again and maybe hunting and gathering and get back to a nature set. Because once I don't think it's going to take very long for all the knowledge, at least all the curated knowledge that the powers to be allow us to have, is in an AI and available to the masses. And once you have that, then I think the only thing left is to play and enjoy the.
I'll argue a bit with that. The reason being that as humans, we need purpose and often like to be driven by something more. And especially people like you and me and others that we build things all our life. Like going from this state, especially around technology. Like let's say, take your case, like you will go around, like build these data centers and so on. And when that's done, and maybe there's a moment that you'll feel like, oh, I achieved my role here. What's next? Like, and if you go to that place in which you spend a lot of time with your family and so on, won't be that there is a missing piece there? Like that.
I don't think so. So I think there's different kinds of people in the world. Like I really like to build and then protect the things that I built or destroy them. Just depends on what kind of haphazard mood I'm in that day, right? Sometimes I build stuff just to tear it down, just to see if I can't, right? Other times I build stuff, I'm like, oh, I really like this. I'm going to protect it. Now my duty is to protect that thing. Outside of those two kinds of people, I think you got the kind of people that raises their hand and says, hey, what can I do to help? And if you do that with AI, I think it'll be like, oh, these are the things that you can do to make you feel productive in the society. There's also the guy that just says, hey, man, I just want to lay here and enjoy the sun and be me today. And I think we'll have a world where you can do either one of them, or you can do both. Like if you're feeling really aggressive that day, you just go to your org and say, hey, what should I be working on today? What will make me fulfilled today? And I think the AI has every psychologist, every sociologist knowledge it's ever been, at least what we're allowed to hear. And I think it'll do a good job at keeping us. I think it'll be a good queen bee.
And yeah, if you're thinking about this world, like now my imagination is going a bit further and like won't
That's
get
the world I want.
close, but in the same time won't get close to the world in which we lack control as humans, or we lost that already. What do you think?
We have a perception of control. I mean, we can't even see infrared signals with our eyes, right? Like the amount of stuff that we don't have control over is absurd. So I think that, teaching humans how to live in the moment and really be happy and joyful. Living in the past is regret. Living in the future is like doesn't even exist. So I really believe that the educational intelligence programs that we could put in place with an oracle like that said, hey, we're going to be a harmonious people and the kind of data that we put out is going to support that. And the things that we create is going to support that. I think we'll get there as humans. And I think this desire to create something is there, but I believe that if you want to work alongside AI and robotics, that you should be able to. And I think they'll let you. And I say that legitimately. I think they'll let you. And if you don't, then just go have a good time and live a life. And I don't think we need to live this world where you didn't work hard enough, you don't get food. And I mean, I promise I probably lean more Republican than liberal, and conservative, but I don't see another path. The only other path is humans trying to manage this. And I mean, we live, I don't know if you're in America or not, but I mean, we voted for Donald Trump for our president. The alternative wasn't any good either. So human decision making is garbage.
That's true. And still, but you mentioned that, like, okay, human decision maker, and if they let us, like, that's personally something that I'm a bit scared of, like, because I feel like we already, we lack control of a lot of things. Like the things that we consume in life, it often is not even our decision because the algorithms and all the other things are working against us. But in a world in which an oracle, like you described, it's making decision for you, telling you if you're feeling bored or if you want to do something else apart from like just chilling in the sun, what you should do.
Now,
Like
Gabe, on
that's
the
scary.
Oracle, I think it's really, really important that these are micro oracles in populations of 100,000 people. What I believe will end up happening is that these oracles will be competing with each other, because as my large language model for this city or this municipality gets better, the mayors or the governors or the leaders of those communities can use that as the competition method for the other communities to attract new businesses, to attract other things. People are still going to make business. People are going to create. no matter what. If we allow people to create, they're going to. The difference is we now are looking at a time for the people that don't want to, they can still be happy and harmonious, right? The Native American culture in our world, it's a horrible thing that happened, but it did happen. Maybe we can give back. AI can help give back to that community and let that community go back to what it was, right? And then we can have a world, a society where different kinds of societies can thrive and not conflict with each other. And I think the AI is one of the most beautiful things that AI does is that it allows you to communicate with other individuals in the modality that they understand, right? This whole brain exercise of if it's Wednesday and I push the meeting 2 days, is that meeting on Friday or Monday? These AIs can help people navigate that kind of language in a way that we've never seen before. Right now, humans just make giant assumptions and walk away.
Hmm. And I love that part that you mentioned because today, especially after that part that everyone remember as the pandemic, we become more isolated. And if we manage, thanks to AI or thanks to our own decisions, to go back into that community that we miss so dearly and try to build things around people rather than just technology, I think that would be a very, very beautiful place. And obviously, for anyone listening, we are just imagining. We have probably no idea what will actually happen, but it's nice to dream and it's nice to build. And you well mentioned that if people want to create, they will do it, and no matter how and so on. And I think that's why we survive on this planet for so long as humans, because we are the most creative species that, at least in our view, exist on this planet. Probably there's others out there that we don't know about, but yeah, I think that's powerful, and it gives people hope because a lot of those that I talk to felt in a way that sometimes I feel as well, like a bit disoriented, a bit scared, but in the same time optimistic that we are living in a time that we have the power to leverage something that our ancestors had no idea. Our ancestors were trying to like just not eat raw meat by inventing fire and so on. But us, we are like playing with fire. We are playing with tools that are just so powerful.
We're playing God at the moment, right? And when I go back to what is creation, all of the things that we have, the best explanation that I have is that at some point, billions of years ago, two rocks bumped into each other. And this is the result 14 billion years later, right? So, and I believe that those rocks touching each other was hope that something would ignite from that and move on. So, it's a beautiful thing. And AI has brought me to a place of intelligence that I never thought I could be. And I love it. I absolutely just dive into this stuff almost every single day of my life.
I bet. And speaking of diving into like why you start a podcast?
Oh, so I am a firm believer that business over the next 10 years is going to change. We're going to have the massive companies, right? Tesla is poised to be the largest company the world has ever seen with robotics, self-driving cars, mapping technology, across the board. They're going to have the largest AI model in the world, potentially. If they pull everything off that he wants, it's poised to be gargantuan of a company, like something we've never seen before on our planet. That being said, I think the micro company and the micro organization and the personal brand is going to be what thrives most of society for the next 10 to 30 years, right? And I have unique knowledge to give, right? And I can create products and services around my unique knowledge. I don't need a whole lot of fan base to make a reasonable living, right? I can have 20,000 fans in today's ecosystem and make a really good living, right? So I think that kind of an economic environment, and I'm not an economist, but I foresee that kind of commerce happening more and more every single day. And I quite honestly love it. I embrace it. I think that people doing that kind of work is just so cool. And there's no better place to be around than people that are trying to do the things that they love to do.
100%. And you speak so much through there because often we think that if you're just creating something like a business will be enough to survive these changes. But when you add to that business a face, a voice, And in general media, it adds a totally different value, and it adds, if you want, legacy, because what we share in podcasts, what we do with this can stay online for a long, long time. And in a world where probably we'll see a lot of AI generated podcasts, AI generated videos, and so on, authentic voices like yours will still live on. And who will someone search for, or who will someone be guided by than humans? Because we resonate and we always do more with humans. And if those that are listening right now, they're like, I truly resonate with Ken, I want to work with him, where they can find you?
If you want to work with me directly, you can go to kencox.com. Like if you want to hire speaking events along those lines. If you have a project that you want automated with AI, that's nlink.com, inlink.com. I like to think of nlink as the link between Web 2.0 and 3.0. It's a big link and it's important. And if you're in business today and you're not using AI, I mean, I said it in the 90s and the early 2000s. If you don't have a website, you're out of business. I think I'm saying that today too.
Yeah, because indeed, if you don't use AI nowadays, you will be out of business.
Your competitor's going to. Your competitor's going to use it. He's going to be faster. He's going to be better. He's going to understand things better. He's going to understand your customer persona better. He's going to be able to market better than you. He's going to do everything better than you if they're using AI and you're not. So, I don't know what the outcome is. It's scary and exciting all at the same time, right? We've got a Schrodinger's outcome in front of us that nobody knows, which is exciting. So play with it. And, there's a gap here that we get to play in. And I don't know how long this gap is going to be here, right? Web hosting was probably a good 10 years that bringing everybody on board. From what I know and what I've seen, everything is escalating at a breakneck speed faster than anything else before. And, some processes are just going to be thrown away and 100% automated with AI without even thinking about it, right? Those are like, hey, this is my process. I'm going to say, oh, get rid of that. And here, this AI already just does it. Just use this one and you're good to go. And to make me speechless is pretty hard to do. And that's where I get when I think about the possibilities for AI.
That's the thing, right? We truly don't know, like the possibilities are endless. And with this in mind, with the knowledge that you have right now, let's get back in time, but for just 1 minute. You meet young Ken that is sitting in front of those green lines on the screen, and you have 1 minute with young Ken. What would you tell him?
I tell him that everything's going to be okay. And that's it.
This was Ken Cox on Authority on the Wild. Thank you so much for tuning in.